All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tackling something pretty intense. It's a framework called RGI, and it calls itself an operating system for reality. I mean, that's a huge claim, right? So let's break down what's actually going on here.
So, the source material for this, it doesn't waste any time. It hits you right away with this line. And you have to understand, this isn't just some poetic opening. This is the entire foundation of the problem that the RGI framework claims it's here to solve.
Okay, so to really get what RGI is all about, you have to buy into its core premise. And that premise is this: we're not just passively scrolling through information. We are, according to this framework, soldiers in a war for reality. The whole idea here is that all the stuff coming at us, the headlines, the notifications, the endless data, it's not just random noise. The argument is that it's a weaponized environment, specifically engineered to keep us confused, overwhelmed, and to basically warp how we see everything.
And this quote, wow, this really drives the point home. You know that word engagement that tech companies love? Well, this framework flips it completely. It says engagement is actually a weapon. And yeah, you're the target. It's a pretty stark way of looking at it.
Okay, so what is this storm they're talking about? What's it actually made of? Well, the framework gets pretty specific. And yeah, it's pretty much everything we deal with every single day, right? The social media feeds, the contradictory news headlines, the pings and notifications that never stop. The source calls it a relentless, chaotic hurricane of data. And its purpose? To keep you anxious, to keep you afraid.
So, how are you supposed to fight back against this storm? Well, this is where the framework introduces its first big idea, something it calls logos. The easiest way to think about it is like your personal anchor. It's your core set of truths, your own foundational principles that you're going to use to make sense of all that chaos out there.
Okay, so we've got the problem, this massive external storm. And the solution proposed here is, well, it's pretty radical. It's not about learning to swim better in the storm. Nope, it's about building your own world, a completely private and controlled reality, separate from all that. They call this a sovereign forge, like a blacksmith's workshop for your mind. It's a place where you are the gatekeeper. You control 100% of the inputs. It's basically saying, forget the public square, I'm building my own library, and I'm the only librarian.
And this really lays out that shift perfectly. On one side, you've got the world's chaos, the social media, the news. On the other side, you have your sovereign forge. So instead of social media feeds, you focus on your texts. Instead of conflicting news, you focus on your mission. You swap out the public noise for private truth. Now, the engine that runs this whole thing has a very fancy name, a hermeneutical engine. That's a mouthful, right? But the word hermeneutics is key. It's all about interpretation. So this tool, which they suggest could be something like Notebook LM, isn't just searching your documents, it's interpreting them. It's making sense of the world, but only through the lens of the information you gave it.
So how does it work in practice? The framework lays out a really specific process for this, and it's called the Schema Prune. This is the real nuts and bolts of the RGI system. But before we get to the how-to, just look at how they frame this. This isn't just clicking buttons. They describe it as a renewing of your mind, but as code. It's presented as something deeply personal and transformative, not just a piece of software.
Okay, so the process itself is 4 steps. Pretty straightforward. Step 1, upload. You feed the system your trusted sources, your foundational texts. Step 2, query. You ask it tough questions to really test your own framework. Then step 3 is the prune. This is the magic part. The AI looks for an answer, but it's only allowed to look at your documents. It literally prunes away everything else. And finally, step 4, synthesize. You get an answer that's grounded in your reality, complete with citations pointing right back to your own stuff.
All right, so what's the point of all this? What do you get at the end of the day? After building this fortress and running this prune, what is the ultimate promise of the RGI framework?
The payoff is, well, it's a big one, 100%. They promise 100% operational certainty. I mean, think about that. It's a claim to completely get rid of doubt, to eliminate indecision from your life.
And this certainty isn't just one thing. It works on 2 levels. First, there's the big philosophical stuff, the grand cosmic why. You get clarity on your life's mission. But at the same time, it gives you the brutally simple what, exactly what you need to do right here, right now. And here's a perfect example of what that brutally simple part looks like. You ask it, what's my mission today?
And the answer isn't some grand vision. It's execute the $150 per day grind, close the $411 hole, schedule the dental cleaning. It's super direct, super actionable, and yeah, kind of mundane, but it's all based on your own data. So when you boil it all down, the framework is promising two huge things. First, you get to cut out all the middlemen, the media, the so-called experts, the algorithms that are trying to influence you. It's just you and your own truth. And second, because of that direct line, you get what it calls negative latency in your decisions. Basically, you can act instantly without any hesitation.
And to bring it all home, the source material ends exactly where it started, with this super dramatic, almost military-style call to action. It really hammers home that high-stakes worldview, framing this whole thing not just as a self-help tool, but as a weapon you need to choose for a war that's already happening.
Which, leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. In a world that feels so chaotic, this RGI framework offers a path to perfect clarity by essentially walling yourself off. So you have to wonder, what's the real value of that kind of certainty? What's the prize? And maybe, what's the price?